Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and this is the Weather and Lifestyle News Show. And boy, the weather, I guess we pushed it all up north for you guys. Uh, uh, we see rounds of severe weather above Arkansas all the way up to the Canadian border. Maybe it'll wash some of that smoke away. Boy, the fires are really bad. When are they going to put them out? We had the Paradise Fire, we had Colorado fire, Arizona's got a fire that they're having issues with. When are they going to put the Canadian one out? Do they not have, William, do they not have fire planes or what? You would think that they would be on this. This is what, about a month's worth of fire? Wow, wow. Uh, un, uh, USA, yeah, US, us. Yes, USA. Boy, we had a really good 4th of July. Middle of the week. So next year, it'll be in the middle of the week too. I don't know if I like this middle of the week. I think we just need to change the 4th of July to be on the weekend every week, every year. So, yeah. But this weather and then the earthquakes. And then there was a volcano report out of USGS. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to put it at the end of the show or if I'll just post it. Um, Very informative, folks, of what's going on. The boardwalk I walked on when I was there is now closed. It's just too dangerous. It's gotten too hot, too dangerous, and too much spittage, is what I call it, because, these are mud pits or clay pits that are super hot. Weird, definitely weird. But they got it closed off, and they're worried about Old Faithful again. But the volcano issues are north of the park, so we'll just have to wait and see. But now USGS is coming out with more and more volcanic reports. All right, weather. I think we got Miss Davis back. Maybe I complained enough. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is I complained enough, they put her back. Yeah, I stopped them. I hounded them. I griped. I complained. And now she's back. Maybe it did some good. But I don't even have her email to even tell her she's on our show, and we think the world of her. Well, we'll see.
And heavy rain will stay in the forecast, unfortunately, into the weekend due to a series of cold fronts. Today, through the high plains and parts of the central and southern plains, here's where we'll see the strongest storms and that threat of large hail and wind. So, pretty much what we've been seeing all week, those will be the main threats as we go into the weekend. So, here's a look at the timing of the storms today, and you can see they start to fire up through the afternoon. Now, watch out this evening, especially through the southern plains. Notice that line of storms that is going to be advancing to the east. So even that overnight threat of storms will be in the forecast. Now, also with this, we're looking at heavy rain. We've seen that all week as well. So watch out for some chances of flooding, not only back through the plains, but the northeast as well. Saturday, the threat continues, and unfortunately, even into Sunday. Now, Sunday's threat is going to extend across the South, the Ohio Valley, and into the mid-Atlantic.
I think they're just trying to scare us here. Is there, we call it Arkansas, the storm killers. And I always say the Weather Channel tries to scare us. Everything that's coming into the States just quit. So we're not worried here, but that doesn't mean it's not going to flare up and tear up something else. Now, weirdly enough, the Mississippi River's filling back up too fast, they say. I mean, it wasn't even, what was it, a couple weeks ago, I was talking about a drought. Now it's filled up and it's going too fast. Um, it sure wreaked havoc, though, on the Mississippi. So, solar eruptions, yes. Um, Mary, I seen a thing on that. I'm not sure if I grabbed it. Um, there is, because of Now we see the Biden administration wanting to do chemtrails again, and it's due to solar eruptions and solar flares that are getting worse. Um, and I've checked with NASA, I've checked with quite a few others um, on what this means. It just, we're going to have more outages, more power outages, more um, phone outages, more cable outages. So they're saying as the heat's on for the summer, the rest of the summer, we could have a lot of outages. And not only that, but the solar panels and wind generators cannot sustain uh, the electrical use across the country. Um, so Mary says two of the largest. Um, well, Mary, I'm not, let me see if I got, uh, there's a lot of shark things today. Um, I do have something on solar flares, so it's just coming up. Well, I guess I could push it over here a little bit. Um, back to solar flares. It may trigger intense auroras, radio blackouts for today. If you're having, now I know I'm having issues. My cable has went out 2, 3 times today, and I was like, oh no, yeah. And then I see the work trucks on our street, and I'm like, double, oh no, oh boy. And it always worries me because they always show up at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. When I used to do morning shows, they'd show up in the morning. I do evening shows, and they show up late afternoon. I got to have a talk with these guys. Yeah. All right. Now, I think I may have shared this before, but I keep an eye on the space, the Hubble telescopes, NASA, everything. Everything that has to do with the planets or Space Force. So, and I don't want to say I'm a nerd. No, I'm cool. I wore bell bottoms in the 70s. Peace, love, and all that other stuff. I gave my mom hell. I tell you. No, I think my sister Bernie gave her hell. She's the one that lied about everything. Am I allowed to say that? I don't even think that's misinformation on her, but it sure pisses off the in-laws. All right. So, um, um, so while we celebrated Independence Day, the sun held its own more powerful fireworks display. That's what caught my eye is on this. And they have projected massive ejection of ionized gas called plasma will impact the Earth Friday, today, when the charged particles strike the magnetic field of our planet. They could give a large rise to disturbances, and they're called geomagnetic storms. So, what it's going to do, well, I might be able to get away with this. Okay, here we go. I got a video on this, so let's put it back to the beginning. So you could see the flares. There's one off the side. Um, Quite a few of them. Now, Mary, I know Mary said there was, well, two of them. Now, I heard four, Mary, from this article. And um, so what they say the geomagnetic storm is predicted by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, NOAA. They reached a G1 level, described as minor. And when have they started naming these? And so, I went and looked at G1 level. This is the first time. They're just now starting to say, you know what, this is really bad, folks. So power systems, weak power grid fluctuations and outages can occur between now and Monday. Minor impact on satellite operations possible. And they were saying that the space station may not be able to do outside aircraft uh, maneuvers or um, um, inspections or anything that needs to be done to the outsides of the craft due to this magnetic storm. Animals are affected. If your dogs and cats are acting weird, whiny, pacing, tearing stuff up, overeating is another one. Drinking lots of water is another. Um, this is a fast growing sunspot on the sun's surface triggered by radio blackouts in some parts of the United States. Flares happen when powerful magnetic fields and around the sun reconnect. This is usually associated with active regions. So, and they said there should be four. So they said this is 10 times um, the normal flares that have been coming out since before now, before this day. So it's 10 times worse. And they said it can trigger earthquakes. And not only that, but high tides. So there you have it. Oh boy. Um, so there is, the solar flares. Mary, you were right. And I did pull it. I just put it in the back of the line. It was. I try to sort everything through to um, line everything up in importance, but they lie. William says they lie. Well, William, I don't know. Um, I think they only say it's this weekend. Now, if they would have said extended, I would have went, no, wait a minute, folks. But they're saying the worst today, and then by Monday, everything's back to normal, just solar flares. But they're saying it's most intense today, and then it goes down over the weekend. So, we have to just keep an eye on it. And I don't. Karen would say, "Oh no, no, not the USGS guys." Um, but you can back them up. You just check it out. Whatever they say, you run it through the news, and you go through. And if there's nothing there, then you got to wonder why they're the only ones. Now they have given me access to their news and videos, but I don't know if I want to use them just yet. You know, because the stuff I'm seeing, I question, and I can't find anything to back them up. And I think that's why Dutch Sense has so much problems with them. And speaking of Dutch Sense, we got the earthquakes, and there was only 30 of them today, and there wasn't that many, and they're not building up. But the one that caught me was another one up in Iceland region again. It was a 4.2. Um, then the and when William said hello at the beginning of the show, I was like, "How do you know there was a recent earthquake?" I mean, it was a 2.5. They say Hawaii region. Here we go again, where they don't want to tell us, or are they down? Is maybe USGS, William? You're staying home. Yeah, I'm going to stay home too because um, back to the solar flares. I one time went out with the kids, and boy, we sunburned badly. And come to find out, there was a solar flare that weekend. And I only learned about it because of the base. The base told us. It wasn't on the news anywhere. I asked my dad. My dad with, 3 to 5 TVs running at once for the news. I asked him. He says he hadn't heard anything on it. And I said, I blistered. I mean, the kids blistered. And that was the first time I ever really heard about solar flares. And it was like, well, I had blisters the size of oranges on my legs. That's how bad. And I wasn't even out there. Get this, 1.5 hours. I had sunscreen on. The kids had sunscreen on. My kids were just blistered all over their shoulders, their backs, their legs. And we were all in the water for the most part. I don't know, I know the water magnetizes it, but I had blisters on my legs from being out of the water. It was just so hot that day. All right, so we have a cluster way down around Fiji, 4.6, and then we had a 5.0 with South Tonga. And then, it's all pretty quiet. Now we have equally spaced. There's only two up in Alaska. Southern Alaska, here we go again, and Anchorage Point, Alaska. See, I'm wondering if only USGS is getting the power outages because their data sure is messed up. Uh, uh, Kamchatsky, Russia, 4.4. Even Japan, Kuji, Japan, was only a 4.2. Okay, so then we get up to Harbor, Washington. It was only a 2.6, and it was pretty deep. Then we go down to Brook Trails, California. Now, I've never heard of where are all these little cities coming from that I've never heard of all my life? And me and my sister traveled up and down California, and I thought we knew all the cities, but Brook Trails. Now, when you go downward from the one that was just so deep, this one was on the surface at a 2.9. Then we go down to Anza, California. That was a 2.7. Then over to White Cities, New Mexico, a 3.3. Very quiet up the East Coast. So they're done. They're done, and there's nothing in the middle of the country along that fault line. Now, there was some earlier all piled up on Puerto Rico with in between a 2.5 and a 3.5. But now it seems like they pulled a lot of them off. There's a 3.1. Then at the Windward Islands. I have never heard of Windward Islands, and it's just off the tip of South America. That one was a 4.9, but it was super deep. And then we had another one in Peru, 4.5. It was very deep, folks. This was, you see some deep ones when I look at these. This one was pretty deep. And then the one right next to it in Argentina almost, it was even deeper. So they got deeper and deeper. And then we end up in Chile, and it was shallow. So there's something in between those two. And when I went and looked, it's a volcano. So I just blinked. I don't know if you guys seen it, but my power just like blinked big time. All right, stay put. So what I'm seeing is in between the two was the volcanoes. So are they getting ready to erupt again? Now these are live, active, and they are only doing ash or steam. There hasn't been lava. But this low, it could mean that the lava is starting to push up. And this is according to the USGS volcanoes. And over 200 earthquakes at Yellowstone again. They're building back up. That's why I think they're watching Old Faithful, and they're watching the northern part of the park where a lot of volcanic activity is happening. All right, so Brawling Eagles. Now, I had to call when I seen this morning. I called down to the Eagle Reserve that we have here in the state down by Lake DeGray. And I said, "Do you have Brawling Eagles?" And they said, well, what do you mean? I said that they fight. And he said, "Oh, yeah, they're very territorial when we let them loose, and especially for the females." I said, "Do they get entangled?" And he said, "No, they've never had to pull any of them apart." Well, quick thinking Minnesota deputies had to separate a pair of eagles They got entangled and could not get apart, and they were drowning. So they jumped in. They got the two apart, made sure they were okay, and they were fine. And they said, lo and behold, they went right back to fighting, is what the um, Lake de Grey gentleman told me. He said he read the same story and he called and he said, so it must have been either a female or they just hated each other. So Brawling Eagles too. Oh boy. Jaws. They say the Florida beaches, in between the Florida beaches, all the way up the East Coast, all the way up into New Hampshire, especially around down lower in New Jersey, that they are seeing a massive amount of sharks. And they were spotted beachgoers, and people were yelling, "Run for it!" And this was the Navarre Beach, Florida. And beach goers were terrified and ran away while others calmly made their way to shore. And they said every time the people would go out into the water, the sharks would show back up. Hungry sharks. Um, Water buffalo. When do you ever see water buffalo running down the streets? Well, I know with the bison, but this was in Charlotte, North Carolina, where a water buffalo was seen running through the city, and everybody was amazed. If everybody was saying bison, and then they finally realized it was just a water buffalo. But everybody did selfies and they did pictures, and they were happy to see wildlife running through the streets. I think people like this stuff. You know, they like the beachgoers with the sharks. Some of them ran screaming, Jaws, and others are like, "Hey, look at the sharks, man." And same way with the whales. People, and then when they get washed up, people are more than happy to push them back in. From turtles to seals to whales to sharks, everybody's willing to help. But bison running down the street, moose walking right up to everybody. Um, it's amazing that the wildlife, the bears, are now starting to get into garbage cans. It is either not enough food or what's chasing them out of the woods. The Bigfoot hunters would say Bigfoot. Me, I say it's not enough food. I think the drought hurt the smaller wildlife, and they're looking for food. And the more we build houses and the farther we go out, the more we are looking at these animals going hungry. All right, so um, the EV cells outpacing the charging networks is we are forced to buy EV cars now. Uh, the many of It's not just the Weather Channel. It's um, the the car manufacturers are now saying, is there enough charging stations? And according to what the U.S. government has told them in response is no, they're down about 50%. So as they are moving the cars forward, um, and they're having these charging stations aren't enough. And they said that people are now experiencing overcharging, which catch their cars on fires, or not driving the cars as far as they should, and looking at getting a gas car to be able to make it to where they need to go, or using it for travel. So, you can't guarantee if you're going to go from California to um, let's say one of the southern states, 2,000 miles. Are there charging stations in the desert? There's not. And so I think this is what people are finding out, these long trips. They may do 300 miles, but if you don't have a charging station when you get to the end, uh, then you're stuck. So that's what they said, the EV sales outpacing charging networks. Um, Now, I talked about the sharks. Well, lo and behold, they're using drones now. This is how they know. Now they're using drones to spot the sharks off the coast, the East Coast. And when they're seeing schools of them, they have caught schools. Or if it's getting too close to the beach swimmers, then they can notify the lifeguards. Some lifeguards have already got these drones to go out and keep an eye, so they have a quicker response to get the beachgoers in. And also, they were able to watch the riptides. Um, oh boy, so um, um, summer cocktails. Well, your favorite summer cocktail could be affected by climate change, they say. And I'm thinking, uh, to me, it looks like, that famous tequila drink. So we'll find out. You may not get your tequila sunrise. That's wow. Bats? Really? Yeah, I figured the bats would stay in the caves where it was cold. Oh, no, 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 of course not. Um, the trucking industry is now being upset out in California due to um, Newsom and his restrictions for gas or diesel. Um, the green energy rules could wreak havoc on the trucking industry. So if you're, oh, excuse me. So if your products are coming in from China into San Francisco or LA, San Diego, they say it could take a week to a month longer for you to get your Amazon packages or Prime. Yeah, they have to find a whole new way. Now, they have been bringing a lot of them over into Florida or even up into the Gulf. And so, a good possibility that either the prices will go up or it'll take longer for you to get your packages. So, oh boy. Uh, I, you know, um, um, and California doesn't have to do this. They don't have to be so stringent on laws. It used to not be like that. They used to be, the hippies. Where'd the hippies go? I Some of the things and the laws they're passing out there in California is just it boggles your mind. And I still have a few friends out there that says, I don't know what we're going to do besides move. I might even have there's new laws on squatters. I'll do on Monday, um, and then it might help. But the majority of the squatters are in California. They say they have nowhere to go. It's either homeless or take somebody's house. Oh, all right. So, um, who's the American that made us flip burgers? Did you know that there was a whole process to this? We used to not do that. So it was Louis Lassen. He's a Danish street wagon cook. He was the first that flipped the hamburger. Um, he said that many accounts claimed they were the first, but no one was like Louis Lassen that claimed, from being from Denmark, that you would have to flip the burger to get the raw or the red off the top. And he said you don't squish, you flip. So he placed Sizzling ground beef and 2 slices of bread, 1900 for a quick, delicious lunch. Um, it was sold by a local store, and voila, he said, the sandwich was born. Um, so he was a young guy, late 20s, early 30s, and he was the first to flip the burger. So, um, now, of course, on this day, yeah, on this day, 1930, the Hoover Dam construction began. So look how old the Hoover Dam is, 1930. All right. Um, um, there is a professor, and he is leading the search for interstellar remains. He said, they have enough space rocks, they have enough of meteors, asteroids, they have enough of rocks that came with um, a type of, they call a creature or an alien, which is what they're finding on Mars, little insects type uh, life forms. He said, so he wants to lead the search for possible interstellar objects at this point. He said they have looked over planets, and now it's time because of the data coming from UFO research that maybe interstellar objects is what we should be looking at. All right, so um, to the funny post. Boy, now this is kids' quotes. Some of them may make you go, "Oh boy, what the parents teaching these kids?" And others is like, "Okay, well, you know, maybe." Well, let's see. I got to get. Um, I went to see a mortgage advisor with my 7-year-old son, and as I sat at the desk, my son sat down and said, "Hello, I am not her husband." Okay, my 3-year-old daughter walks in on my husband um, using the bathroom, and in her shock said, "Oh my God," and walked out. First time, I guess. Oh, I don't know. 5-year-old, can I have a Twic? Me, you mean Twix? 5-year-old said, no, I only want one. It's a Twic. Come on, Elsa, get it together. My almost 3-year-old said this to her doll that kept falling over and wouldn't stand up with its shoes on. Soccer coach, when you're trying to score a goal, kick the ball with the laces of your shoes. My 4-year-old daughter, we're in preschool. There's only Velcro walking around here. Who has shoelaces? Old people. Old people do Velcro. Well, come on. I sat down with my 3-year-old daughter who was playing in her dollhouse and asked her which doll I could be. And she replied, the one that does dishes and cleans the house. Um, Dropped my son off at preschool on Friday, and he turned around and said, have a good weekend. And as he leaves the car, and clearly he has plans that don't include me. My 3-year-old son saw Nick Jonas singing on TV, and he says, he doesn't have any friends, does he? Oh, I don't know who's Nick Jonas. I'm old. Someone new that I don't know about. My 5-year-old, why do my why does when someone hits me with the ball, it hurts, Mom? Uh, and and other people it don't. And she says, well, why are they throwing the ball at you? And he said, well, I try to catch it. And she said, where on their body parts are they hitting you? Now I thought this was going to be a dirty thing. And he said, my hand. And she says, well, what happened to the mitt I gave you? And he said, well, I didn't know how to use it. I don't know about that one. I think that one had more to it. Why didn't someone teach the kid to put the mitt on his hand? I guess they thought and used what? All right. Why is the dog's head all wet? Um, the 3-year-old said I was Daddy had the bathroom and I went in the bushes and the dog was underneath me. Yeah, uh-huh. 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 Um, all right. 2-year-old. What what's that? Um, and that's a calculator. And the 2-year-old says, no, that's a calsunal. A calsunal? Really? What is that? Boy, these are some lame ones this morning, guys, or this evening. When my child came home from school on the school bus, I paused the work conference call I was on to ask how her day was. And she said, go back to work. I have a list of things I want you to buy me with the money you're making. And I just heard you say you have a lot. She's 5. All right. With that, I believe that is it, folks. It is Friday. We will see you on Monday for Justice for All. And it'll be about squatters, a new law that was passed that could help. And then the worst squatter story ever. So, with that, folks, we will see you on Monday. If not, like I said at the beginning, join us for some trivia, and that's coming up in about 20 minutes. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a happy Friday. And of course, God bless. Subscribe, hit the like button, and share and follow us. Share, share, share. Thumbs up.